Okay.
You heard that right?
Mm-hmm.
Welcome, one and all. Today is September 17th, 2015, and this is Mastermind Call number 43. And just one more time, for all of you we had about 10 people sign on in the last 10 seconds. If you have a question, if you know you're going to have a question, if you want to make a statement, if you want to share a success story, we particularly love those. But if you have a comment of any kind, this is an open forum. So just hit *6 and then hit 1, and you'll get put into our question queue. We already have one person in there. And last couple of calls, we've only had like one person ask 10 questions, and that's fine. But we prefer to have 10 people ask a question or two each. So *6 and then hit 1. And Tim, I think you said you had some news you wanted to share with the group, correct?
I do, and then as we go through this, I've also got another point that I picked up the other day talking to one of our customers. But I'll just note that as of this morning, we added a couple of more letter options to the Mailbox Motivator in terms of letters that you can choose from. Those letters are also duplicated in terms of downloadability in the member resource area, and they're all in sync now. If you're wanting to use the letters that we give you, please download the current copy. All of them have been updated as of today. So all of that was done this morning, and they're all in there for you to take a look at, and you can scan through them in the Mailbox Motivator form. You can scan through all 5 of the letters there to select the one that you want or the sequence that you're looking for. That's all I have for that right now. And, I mean, the important thing about this is we have a sequence of 3, probate letter, probate 1, letter 1, letter 2, letter 3, and we've just added 2 more to that. One of them is an options letter, and the other one is a very simple letter. And, Jim, you said you wanted to explain the differences between that. Do you want to do that now, or do you want me to do that?
No, I'll go ahead and take a stab at that, Tim. If you'll notice, one thing that's common to all the letters is we want to give the sellers options. People love to buy, but they hate to be sold. They don't like to be told what to do. They like to have options. So all the letters were designed with the thought in mind that if these people have heard from anyone, it's usually an investor who's looking to get a really good price on the property. And all of these letters, once we put them on there, they have worked for one or more of our agents. So these are letters that have been tested by Chad and I, and then every time we add one, it's a letter that was highly recommended by one of our clients. So I often get asked, what's the best letter? It really depends on your circumstances. If you are a investor and a realtor, then you probably want one of the first couple letters. You because some of them, you want the opportunity to buy some of them, and the ones that you can't buy cheaply, you want the opportunity to list them. Now, these last 2 letters came as a result from agents saying, well, it seems like your letters are slanted more towards investors. I have an investor, but I don't have a great investor. We tell you how to find one. Or I have an investor, but I really want to take the listing. So the last 2 letters make a reference to the fact that you've probably heard from an investor who's looking to, quote, unquote, steal your property. And that's what investors do, and they serve a worthwhile function. However, if you're looking to get closer to top dollar for your property, here's what I can do for you. So the last couple are more slanted towards why you don't want to list with an investor, and the first couple are a little more generic. So it really depends on your circumstances. We believe all of these letters work, but you got to look at your particular circumstance and situation and see what letter or letters makes the most sense for you. Chad, anything you want to – go ahead.
I was just going to say, and we're going to be adding more and more letters as we go. As we begin to hear from other people, one of these is actually distilled from one of our clients who said, hey, I've been trying this, it works okay for me. And as you find things that you do that you're putting out there, it's always good to share and give back a little bit. So if you'll get it to us, we'll take a look at it, genericize it, and put it out. If you have something that you particularly think works well, we'd love to hear from you, and we'll take a look at what you send us. And if it's something that we think everyone would benefit from, we'll be glad to share it with the group, and that's important. So,
excellent. Chad, anything you want to add to that, or anything you want to add this week?
I don't think I need to add anything to the letters.
Okay.
But I will just kind of give an update from my wheelhouse. we did start our Probate Mastery webinar series this week, and we've got a great small class of people who are, it's kind of a good mix. Some people who have just started, some that have been with us for a couple of months. And then we're looking at probably the second week of October for starting the next one. So if you didn't get enrolled in that, you can enroll now, and we'll send you the recording from Tuesday, or you can just wait until the October class that we do, and we'll do probably the last 3 weeks in October on Tuesdays.
Perfect. And then one other generic or overall part of our system that we wanted to touch on this week, guys. I don't ever look at anything as a complaint, so I'm not going to say we got 2 complaints, but we got 2 comments this week from agents who said, I followed your program exactly. I sent out my first batch of letters, and they said we followed your recommended program. They said both of them did. We sent out the first batch of letters, and then we did a Sly broadcast just like you suggested, and we haven't had any calls yet. And we really feel like it's important that you understand that it's, number one, it's not a 1-month program. We probably have a dozen or more agents that have gotten multiple listings their first month, and we probably have as many or more agents that it took a few months to get going. So it's timing, it's luck of the draw, it's market specific. It's not a 1-month program. You got to stick with it. But more importantly, we don't recommend the voice broadcast. That's a substitute for picking up the phone and making phone calls. The recommended program isn't do a voice broadcast. The reality is there are a number of you, however, that are getting 2, 3, 4, 500 leads a month, and and you don't have an ISA, you don't have anybody to make the calls for you. So it's far better to do the voice broadcast than not to call the people. However, it's far better to pick up the phone and actually make those physical calls than to just automatically do a voice broadcast. So we just want to make that very clear. You're always going to get better results picking up the phone and making the calls live. If you know you don't have the time or the inclination, the determination to make the live calls, the broadcast is a lot better than nothing. Any partners, anything you want to add to that?
I have one comment about that, and it's a direction comment. And Chad, if you have something you wanted to say, I thought I heard your voice in there first. Did you want to say something?
No, go ahead. I'll follow up.
Okay, so the one thing that we got some info or got a question in from somebody today. He said he'd gotten his leads in, and of them, about a third of them, he contacted the attorneys that showed up on his list, and about a third of them had already been closed. And so, he was concerned that, that's an issue that he had to deal with, and, is that a problem or whatever. And so the answer for that was pretty straightforward. We send the leads out that are available, the ones that are collected carefully every month in your area. And the approach that we recommend is what Jim just said, that you contact the personal representative first, not the attorney. Sometimes even when a case has been closed, it doesn't mean the property has been sold. It also doesn't even mean that there was probate in it. We don't pre-screen the leads. It's a numbers game. So it's not a mistake when one's been closed. It's in the probate record. It's the data is there, and whether it's available or not is not something that we can tell. And the amount that you get every month essentially is going to vary based on seasonality, courthouse record keeping, clerk vacations, all that sort of stuff. So the recommended approach is simply to mail to the personal representatives that you have, follow up with a phone call. That'll help you determine which ones have probate and are available for a listing. But, just calling the attorneys on the list not only doesn't shortcut it, you also miss the opportunity to talk to the only person who actually can sell that property to you, because the attorney can't do that. That's the job of the personal representative.
Chad?
I'll touch on both of those last topics. Arnie, who I almost bet is on this call, we spoke earlier today about this, and I'll first talk about phone calls. So live calls are always going to be best. Arnie is an incredible tracker. He tracks all the metrics in his business. They're getting almost a 50% contact rate. Even if you do an automated voicemail that gets 80% deliverability, you're only going to get probably 5% callbacks. So you're only going to have a handful of conversations. If you do live calls and you get, say you get 80, if you get 50% contact, but that's a live conversation, you're going to get better results on live calls. So if you have the time and you have the, if you have the skills for prospecting, definitely do that first. As far as properties being sold, just like Tim said, I mean, all we can do is pull the data that we have and provide that to you with the best practices for getting the most business out of that. Now, there are some ideas. Certain family members they're going to realize the inevitable, and they're going to be more proactive, and maybe they sell the home just because they don't want it sitting vacant, or maybe they have to sell it to get Medicaid to pick up bills before the death. So in a lot of cases, I find here in my market that when the home has been sold, when I speak to an executor and the home's been sold, it was actually put on the market well before the death occurred. So it's not that we're providing bad data or anything. There's just no way of knowing that. So they're still going to probate the estate, even though the real estate has been sold or is already on the market. A couple of ideas that I gave Arnie on how to kind of improve your results. If you can strategically network with people in the community that commonly deal with end-of-life scenarios like financial advisors, program coordinators at nursing homes and assisted living facilities, if you can know those people in the community that could recommend you as an end-of-life realtor, maybe you'll get get even more referrals before the death would occur, and really use kind of the same marketing and the same strategy of, hey, we have crews to clean out houses, we have contractors, we can get it sold for the most in the shortest amount of time. All the language and skills are the same. You're reaching a certain part of the population before the inevitable happens. So just an idea, if you can organically meet people like that, like financial advisors or estate planners, or program coordinators at nursing homes, that when they see the need, when a family needs help from a real estate professional and they just don't know where to turn, they can endorse you and refer you to the family. So just a couple of ideas.
Excellent. And we have a very patient, partners talked a lot longer than usual today, guys, so thank you for listening. We've had a very patient person in the queue for a question now. We just have one. We have time for 3 or 4 questions. If there's anyone else, just hit *6 and then hit 1, and I'm going to go ahead and connect our first questioner. All right. Are you there, sir? Area code 847, ma'am or sir? Hello?
Way to go. You ran them off.
Yeah, I guess they hung up.
We put them to sleep.
Yeah, sorry about that, guys. If anybody else does have a question. Oh, okay. We got somebody came back. All right, go ahead. Are you there? Area code 614? All right, let's try. Are you there? Area code 614.
Houston?
All right, guys. No. Can you hear me? All right. Our questioner has gotten disconnected twice, guys. That might be on me. I'm mobile this week, so sorry about that. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to be brave and turn off the question and answer mode if it's. All right. Let me try one more time. Okay.
When do the clowns come out of the little car? Are the clowns coming out of the car yet?
Can you hear me? 850 area code. You have a question?
Yes, I can, and thank you for taking my call.
Awesome. Okay, good. Thank you. Go ahead.
I've been talking to Jim, and I'm more of a suspect than a prospect at this time. What is the ramp-up speed and time frame once you sign up, as far as getting your website up, getting the letters and everything, and plus receiving your leads from your company? And then I'll hang up, okay?
No, that's great. And the other person is back for the question. 614, be patient. You're next. Go ahead.
Yeah, I can take that. So the ramp-up speed depends on 2 things. One of them is a lot of it depends on time availability from your standpoint. If you're rocking and ready to go, then That takes care of one part of it. The only other issue is whether or not the leads are available and already being collected in the county that you're in. If we already have data in that county, then you're generally able to get them really quickly. If we need to go and put somebody on that county because we're not collecting it, then it may take a little bit to get that person going. Our general approach is that we say we can get anybody up in a couple of weeks. That's our objective. The longest it should take would be 30 days. In most cases, we tend to hit the 2 weeks pretty much square on unless it's a new county. As far as the website and the mailings are real simple. And as soon as you've agreed on what you want in the letters after selecting them, we can have them out for you within 48 hours. Same thing with the website, but you're kind of responsible for helping us with some of the content and images. So if you can get those to us quickly, we can turn it around really, really fast and get that done too. So both of those are probably a couple of days, and the leads are just a function of availability.
Excellent. We got another questioner.
Does that answer everything, though?
Yes, I did.
Okay, great.
All right. Area code 614778. You're up.
Okay, can you hear me?
Excellent. Yes, sir, we can. That was on my end here. I'm using an iPad this week, so you're good now.
All right, no problem. First of all, I haven't gotten my list yet, but the question I had, are any of these numbers scrubbed for being on the do not call list?
The ones that come in, we get them from a legal database.
Okay.
And they're not running it against a do not call in your area. These are personal representatives for an estate, and that is a legal notice that has to get filed. Therefore, you can call them. Now, you need to, I'm not an attorney, and I'm not trying to play one in your state. You need to check, but in most cases, that's the reason this is filed as a public record. So you're trying to find the person of record. It's not that you're blindly making robocalls. You're literally seeking the personal representative.
Super. That was the answer to my question. Thank you.
Okay. All right, excellent. One more question from area code 612. And you're up, 612.
Hey, it's Arnie Johansson. What's going on?
Hey, Artie. Old reliable. Artie, thank you so much for coming on.
Whenever...
I was just going to say, you've been with us all of a month, and how many deals have you generated so far?
0.
Well, I mean, how many good leads? Okay, I know you don't have any closings yet, but you've had some good leads so far, correct?
Well, I mean, I've been making the calls. I went on one appointment. It wasn't that great, but I mean, hey, I just started. I'm talking to a lot of people, and I mean, we've just been trying to figure out how to make this happen. So, I mean, like you said, if you're going to try it, you got to try it for a while. And, I just started doing this a few weeks ago. So, I'm getting better on the phone and everything. I've been talking to Chad and stuff, and we did that other Mastermind thing earlier this week. So, we'll just see how it goes here.
All right, sir. So go ahead, please. What's your question?
Yeah, so we were looking at this list here. A lot of these on this last list, I think I got about 6 to 10 where the last address from the deceased is in another state. Does that because the first batch I got didn't have any of those. So,
yeah, that's not uncommon. Tim, you could probably answer that better than any of us, but that's the last known address. They well may have gone to live with relatives, when they were it was obvious that they were passing away. Tim, do you have anything to add to that?
As of the date of filing, typically that's a check the box blank that's got to get filled out on that report. And like Tim said, if they went to live with a family member in another state, that's just because the data is there. Quite typically, if it's filed in your jurisdiction, in your county, it's likely that they had property in that county, which is why it's being filed there. I mean, that would be my guess. I'm not going to say that's the case, but I would guess that potentially to be the case, because otherwise I'm not sure why they would file it there unless the person filing it is resident there, but there had to be some reason that was filed in your marketplace. They would probably have had to have lived there.
Okay. Then I had a question for Chad, or anybody, I guess. Because I'm going through these, a lot of the numbers, they're disconnected or they don't work or I can't get a hold of the person. So at that point in time, that's when I call the attorney. Have you had any success of, calling the attorneys and, well, I know you probably don't prospect like that, but I mean, what do you think about that as far as like calling the attorneys and trying to like get them to help you out with the file?
You may have still been in your doctor's appointment. We covered that on session 1 on Tuesday, Arnie.
Oh,
so,
okay.
You can go back and listen to that, some of the best practices that some of our members have been successful with. Phone calls are probably the hardest way to reach the attorney, just because you're going to hit a gatekeeper. But a good way to get through the gatekeeper is to say, hey, this is Arnie from ABC Realty. I'm calling regarding the estate of Jane Doe, docket number 12345. And the assistant or whoever screens the phone calls will be more likely to patch you through to the attorney or his voicemail, where you can say, this is why I'm calling and we specialize in probate, yada, yada. With direct mail, it's also a good direct mail piece if you reference the docket number to make the letter look a little more formal and reference the estate of deceased first and last name, and then mail the attorney a similar mail piece to what you would an executor, just stating how you can provide value to them and get a quicker closing for the estate and the most amount of money. But direct mail and phones, and then we also had another guy in Central Florida who was assertive and just walked into the attorney's office and said, I'd like to meet with, Mr. Attorney. And he had him give him one deal and earned his referral business because he did such a good job on that first one. But yeah, if you're not getting the personal representative, absolutely, that's when it's time to go for the attorney. And,
right.
But go ahead, Tim.
I was going to say, I just wanted to comment about, you said a bunch of the numbers disconnected and not in service, whatever. And the part of the reason for that is that we try and give you as many possible numbers as we can to give you the best opportunity to contact that person. And we start with the most logical one, which would be the lookup that if an attorney was trying to find that person or a skip tracer, it's the first number they would find based on what's called a champagne fountain approach from the resources that we use. So in theory, column 1 is the best number. Going down to column 5 would be the, not the best number. And in between those are numbers that at one point were their number. It could be the number of someone who shows up as a family member, a relative, or anything else that's related to that person. And we just try and give you as many as we can. In the beginning, we only put one number out there, which was the record that came in the court filing. We've augmented that with all of the other numbers because in some cases that just didn't get the number gone. One other quick point I want to make about that is that, go back to the slide dial thing and just hammer this home. If you're using slide dial, in general, you're going to get cell phones only, which means if you do that, your connectivity is going to be extremely low, probably lower than normal on just contacting the personal representatives, because on a legal filing document, they're typically going to put a number that they can be reached at in the evening or something like that. And while, 5 years from now, it'll all be cell numbers, at this point, it may still be a home phone number, and slide dial is not going to connect that.
Make sense, Artie?
Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you.
And Artie, I always appreciate the fact that you're just taking massive action, and you are just the 50% conversation rate is remarkable, and that really tells me that you're taking this seriously and you're making the calls. We have one more questioner in area code 805, so I'm going to go ahead and turn you on. Thank you, Arnie.
Yep.
All right. Area code 805-644. You're up.
Hello, can you hear me?
We can hear you great. Yes, sir.
Okay, this is Harold Powell.
Hey, Harold.
My question is regarding who makes the list initially. I mean, how part of it goes back to some of the leads I received this last month. I know some of them were already listed and some have already sold. So my question is, is it set up in such a way that you're trying to get when they initially file, or is it are you picking up the lead when they actually have authority to sell the property? In other words, letters of testimony or admin.
When is filing date?
Okay, the filing date. Okay, all right.
Yeah, you should be getting, every month you should be getting all the probates that were filed in the last 30 days.
Okay. And so let just go down to, because the second part of that question is, let's say somebody has not received the court-appointed authority yet. Do you, as a practice, take listings subject to them getting the authority approved or being appointed as executor or admin? In other words, you list the property even though they don't have the authority yet to sell it.
Are you saying something not coming from our list, you mean?
No. I'm talking about, in other words, if something's filed, it just means that they may, the way I understand it is that once it's filed, they have a date set up in court to be appointed as the executor or the administrator. And that date may happen 30 days from now or 45 days from now. So if you meet with them prior to that, you list the property subject to them being appointed.
You can certainly do that, but generally speaking, if they're showing up on your list that they are the personal representative, they are in fact already, from a court standpoint, listed in the docket as the personal representative, and they've got the right to tender that property. Until they have that, they can't sell you that property, and I don't think you can. I don't know the answer to this in your state, but I don't think they can legally list it. You could take it subject to, but that's just a piece of paper at that point.
Right. Okay.
But I don't think you're going to find. I think you're going to find that when you talk to the folks that are on there, they are the personal representatives and have the ability, if there's property there, they would have the ability at the point that it's filed in that court record and you receive it, they're going to have the ability to enter into a listing and sale contract with you.
Yeah, some of them haven't, but that's okay. It doesn't really matter. I mean, like I said, you still take it subject to, because I have talked to some that hadn't actually received it. It had been filed, but they just hadn't got court confirmation yet. That's all.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. But if it's showing up in our data, it's just probably paper not getting to them yet. So, yeah, I would go ahead and say, okay, well, that's great. It's coming. So we'll do it subject to, and then you lock them up.
Right. Okay.
All right, great. Any other questions, guys? Real quick, we got time for one more question. Hit *6 and then 1. Otherwise, thank you for the participation this week, guys. And Tim, Chad, doesn't look like we have any other questions. Any other closing comments? Anything else we need to cover?
I just want to also add one thing. We're getting several questions today about attorneys, and I think one of the things we'll take on between now and the next couple of weeks, we'll put an attorney letter up there that'll give you something to use to prospect to attorneys also. That'll give you a best practice. If Chad's covering it on his in the training classes, we should probably add that up there as a resource, and I think we'll put our heads together and do that.
Excellent. All right. Well, boy, we kept this call right at 30 minutes. That's unusual. But thank you all, everyone who participated. Thank you all for taking the time out of your day today. I always close these calls by saying, take one idea, one piece of information you learned today, take it, go out there, put it into practice, get a success story, and come back and share it with us next week. You guys, thank you for coming. Make it a great week. If you need us in the meantime, you know where to find us. We'll talk to you all next Thursday. Take care.